Oh my God, do. Somebody please say it ain't so. Did y'all hear the story about how TLC robbed Clive Davis and Diddy at gunpoint like they was in the movie Set It Off? I couldn't believe it when I heard it. Y'all need to listen at this.
Why did TLC hold Arista hostage?
The record
company, Clive Davis, we held them hostage like guns, the whole shebang.
They made $75 million and got handed $50,000 checks. So TLC did what no other act dared to do. They stormed Clive Davis' office, kicked Diddy out of a meeting, and held the entire label hostage.
So we went up there and held everybody hostage, and Puffy was the one that snitched us out. Yo, B, yo, your girl's up here mad bugging, yo.
What happened next would change the music industry forever, and Clive Davis never looked at them the same again.
And we have one of the girls acting as security outside of that door, and we said, don't let anybody in or out unless we say so. Okay, so Clive is like, girls, what's going on?
And decades later, Chili quietly confirmed the other truth, what she witnessed while dating Usher, and why Diddy panicked the moment she started talking.
He did the ultimate no. You don't do that, and he did that, and I'll never take him back, so it's a done deal. He did, he really did.
This isn't a story about music. This is about what happens when three women decide to fight back and never back down. TLC didn't start off dangerous. They started off broke. By the time Crazy Cool went multi-platinum and pulled in $75 million, the members of TLC, T-Boz, Chili, and Left Eye were driving beat-up cars, had barely any furniture, and were each handed $50,000.
TLC had generated on Crazy Cool $75 million, and they gave us $50,000 apiece. I was like, what the hell?
That's when everything changed. Left Eye, fresh out of the diversion center after setting her ex's house on fire, had met a new group of associates while locked up. Women who didn't play, ex-cons. Big, intimidating, and down to ride. So when Lisa said, let's go get our money, the plan was set in motion. They didn't go through managers. They didn't file lawsuits. They drove straight to New York. Clive Davis, the man behind the label Arista, was at the top of the food chain. And Puffy, still going by that name at the time, just happened to be in the middle of a meeting with Clive when TLC showed up.
Tion's cousin walks over, at the time it was a tape, stops the tape, gives it to Puffy and says, TLC's got a meeting with Clive and you got to go. Your meeting's over.
TLC's crew spread through the building, snatching plaques, posters, anything with their name on it, and loaded it all into a waiting limo. Their limo driver was the getaway car. One of their girls acted as security outside Clive's office. Nobody got in. Nobody got out. They told Clive they were broke. They told him L.A. Reid was pointing fingers. And then the cops showed up. Clive had a decision to make: press charges and risk headlines, or handle it quietly. TLC left with no arrests. But soon after, the money came. Not all of it. It was recoupable, which meant they still didn't see most of it. But the renegotiations started. The label was rattled, and TLC made it clear they weren't just artists. They were fighters. And from that moment on, Diddy knew TLC wasn't the type of act you controlled. They were the kind you ran from. They didn't just scare Clive. They embarrassed Diddy. And years later, Chili gave us a clue that the tension between TLC and Diddy ran deeper than anyone realized.
Want to hear my joke I have? Ready? This is good. See if you like it. A lot of multiple Grammy nominees this year. Lauryn Hill's got 4, TLC's got 8, and Sean Combs 5 to 10. Get it? Like he's going to jail?
Right.
All right.
It was just a joke. Rosie O'Donnell made a crack on live TV, and Chili burst out laughing. She laughed harder than anyone else in the room, and the look on her face, like she knew something the rest of us didn't. At the time, most people saw it as innocent, a celebrity moment gone viral. But once you start connecting the dots, who Chili used to date, where Usher came from, and how close he really was to Diddy, that laugh doesn't feel random anymore. Because Chili dated Usher for years, and Usher, at just 14 years old, had been sent to live with Diddy in New York by LaFace Records. He called it Puffy Flavor Camp.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs.
What exactly did he see?
Hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
Meanwhile, behind the scenes, people were already talking. And when Chili and Usher got together, it wasn't just romance. It was proximity to one of the most powerful and allegedly dangerous men in music. And the question that's haunted fans ever since: what did Chili see or hear while dating Usher during his Diddy years? See, this wasn't just pillow talk. This was a woman dating a man who'd lived in Diddy's house, partied with Diddy's crew, and was hospitalized after a situation involving Diddy.
Puff and Usher did have a situation, and that situation led Usher to the hospital.
There were rumors of an STD. There were stories that Kim Porter found tapes. There were claims that Diddy bragged about it all. And now, legal documents mention an unnamed artist with a Vegas residency and a Super Bowl performance. That matches Usher. And if Chili knew what was going on behind the scenes, if Usher told her everything, it explains why she suddenly backed off from both Diddy and Usher. She stopped speaking on him. She stayed away from Diddy's world, and she never looked back. Because what she may have learned wasn't just heartbreaking, it was dangerous. And in interviews since then, Chili never directly confirms what she saw. But she always makes one thing clear. Sometimes you're supposed to be with people for a reason, but not a lifetime. And if Usher was carrying trauma from what happened at Diddy's, Chili may have seen exactly what it did to him up close. The cheating, the emotional distance, the erratic behavior. And now, after everything that's come out, some people don't even blame him. They blame Diddy. Because if Diddy exploited Usher, and Usher passed that pain forward, then Chili was a witness to all of it. And Diddy knew that. That's why her laugh at Rosie's joke hit different. Because maybe that wasn't just a punchline. Maybe it was payback. But Chili wasn't the only one Diddy and Clive had to worry about. If anyone in TLC truly scared them, it was Left Eye. Lisa Left Eye Lopes wasn't just the wild card. She was the ringleader. And when she found out the group had made $75 million while each member got paid just $50K, she snapped.
Of course, Lisa was the ringleader.
Like, we need to go get our money. I need to know where my MF money's at.
What happened next was borderline criminal. Lisa gathered a crew of ex-con women she met while locked up in a diversion center. Big women, loud women, women who looked like they'd done time and didn't care about going back. Then she called Chili and T-Boz and said, "We're driving to New York." They flew in, met in Manhattan, and walked straight into Arista Records with a plan: get their money or shut it down. They kicked Diddy out of his own meeting. They stormed every floor of the building, ripping down anything with TLC on it. Awards, plaques, promo posters. One of the girls stood guard outside Clive Davis's office, refusing to let executives in or out. They even had a getaway limo waiting out front. Clive let it go and told his team to start renegotiating. But the fear? That lingered. Because Lisa wasn't just about contracts and money. She wanted answers. She wanted to know who had their money and what was really going on behind the scenes. Shortly after, she made one of the boldest career moves of her life, signing with Death Row. Nobody could believe it. TLC's most outspoken member had just joined the most dangerous label in music. And right when it looked like Lisa was about to expose everything, from the money trail to industry secrets, the unexpected happened. You see, after TLC showed up at Clive Davis's office and shut it down, the label got real quiet. Nobody expected it to go that far, not even the security team. But it did. From that day on, even artists had to go through extra checks just to enter Arista's building. Metal detectors, sign-ins, pat-downs, all because 3 girls from Atlanta walked in and made it clear they weren't playing about their money.
And after that, if you wanted to go to Arista, even if you were an artist, you had to sign in and they had to pat you down and all that kind of stuff because of TLC.
And let's be honest, Clive Davis didn't do anything. He sat there, let the girls talk, watched his plaques get pulled off the walls, then acted like nothing happened. because deep down, he knew they were right. They weren't being dramatic. They were being robbed. They weren't wildin'. They were handling business. TLC didn't hire a bunch of lawyers. They didn't send angry letters. They pulled up, face to face, and made it clear, if we don't get paid, you don't get peace. Eventually, they got a better deal. Still not fair. The label kept recouping off them, but it was enough to stop the bleeding. Enough to let them tour again, make money on the road, and tell their side without being shut down. And the industry? They stayed out of TLC's way. Nobody sent fake press. Nobody pushed Clive to fix the girls. And Diddy? He never tried to get involved again. Because what happened that day at Arista wasn't just about money. It was about power. And TLC proved they weren't scared of anybody. Not Clive, not Diddy, not the whole machine. After that, people understood TLC doesn't bluff. And if you cross them, they'll show up and make you deal with it. After that standoff with Clive Davis, TLC moved on. But not all of them stayed in the spotlight. Left Eye was different. She never let things slide. And when the group started seeing more money, Lisa still wasn't satisfied. She wanted to know how it all got that bad in the first place, how they went multi-platinum and ended up broke. She wanted her own label, her own direction, and most of all, her own answers. She wasn't walking away from music, but she was clearly searching for something bigger than awards or sales. That's when she decided to leave the US and spend time in Honduras. She called it a spiritual retreat.
It's gonna be Left Eye the cameraman.
I'm getting my skills on as a professional photographer.
I never shut the camera on. The camera followed me into my dreams.
She brought a small film crew and said she wanted to document her journey, not as a celebrity, but as a person trying to understand herself. During those final weeks, Lisa was reflective but unsettled. She talked a lot about energy, about spirits, and about something she couldn't quite explain. She felt like she was being watched. She believed something was following her. Just a few days before the crash, there was a strange and tragic moment. Lisa's vehicle accidentally struck a young boy walking on the side of the road. He didn't survive. His last name was also Lopes. Lisa was visibly shaken, and she told the camera that she believed the spirit meant to take her, not the boy. After that incident, her mood shifted even more. The footage shows her quieter, more tense. She kept going with the trip, but something clearly weighed on her. Then came the crash. The van she was in swerved off the road, flipped, and Lisa was on impact. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Everyone else in the vehicle survived. The official report listed it as a tragic accident. The road was narrow. The driver was avoiding another car. But for the people who had been following Lisa's story, especially those who knew what she was working on, the timing didn't sit right. Lisa was planning a new solo album. She had business plans outside of TLC, and she was in the middle of openly speaking about how badly the group had been treated by the industry, especially by LaFace and Arista. She was also one of the only members bold enough to confront Clive Davis directly. In her last interviews and taped footage, Lisa sounded more independent than ever. She wasn't just focused on music. She wanted ownership, real answers, and accountability for how much money had been taken from them. Her death, caught partially on camera, closed the chapter before she could fully tell her side. It's been more than 2 decades, and fans still wonder if Lisa knew too much, or was getting too close to something people didn't want public. Officially, there was no foul play. No charges were ever filed, but the questions around her death haven't gone away. Lisa's legacy isn't just tied to TLC's success. It's tied to how fearless she was in calling out what wasn't right. From their contracts to their payouts to the silence from the people at the top. She wasn't the easiest person to control, and by the end of her life, she wasn't answering to the industry anymore. After Lisa's death, TLC carried on. They toured, did interviews, and tried to keep the group going. But things weren't the same. The energy was different, and so was the dynamic behind the scenes. T-Boz and Chili stayed in the spotlight, but they moved carefully, especially Chili. Out of all the people connected to TLC, she's the one who stayed the quietest when it came to what was going on behind the scenes. But she didn't disappear. She just kept her distance, especially from Diddy. She didn't go on talk shows and expose anyone. But she also never stood next to Diddy again. Not after Left Eye died. Not after the Arista fallout, and definitely not after the truth about how young artists were treated started making headlines. For Chili, keeping her distance might have been survival. She was there for all of it. The bad contracts, the confrontations, and the industry parties that people still won't talk about on record. And out of the whole group, she's the only one still standing, still performing, and still choosing her words carefully. In any case, TLC wasn't just another successful girl group. They were one of the only acts from that era who stood up to the people in charge and walked away with their careers and their dignity still intact. They confronted Clive Davis. They didn't play industry politics. And when they felt cheated, they pulled up in person and demanded answers. This wasn't just a music story. It was about power, survival, and the cost of telling the truth in an industry that doesn't like to be challenged.
I just don't understand how come people that have more than enough money don't want to pay the people that's helping them get richer. There's multi-billion-dollar companies out there that we all support, and the people that work for these companies don't have no health insurance, don't have no benefits. TLC sold millions of records. They all should have been broken off some big money, $5 million a piece, and that wouldn't have been nothing compared to what they bought in. I'm pretty sure if they would have got that $5 million check a piece, they would have felt like they hit the lottery. But they didn't want to do that. There's some greedy people out here, man. Diddy is one of them. Clive Davis is another one of them. When are they going to do the Clive Davis trial? That's what I'm waiting on, man. Y'all got to let me know how y'all feel about this in the comment section. I ain't got nothing but love for y'all. And for all y'all beautiful ladies out there, y'all already know I risk my motherfucking life.
Risk my life to give you documentations, girl. I risk my life to give you documentations, girl. I risk my life to give you documentations, girl. I risk my life to give you documentations, girl.